Hello, hello.
Hey.
Hello.
How's everyone doing?
Hang in there. How about you?
Hanging in there? Yeah, good, good. Cold over there, Marina, on the East Coast. I saw a few snow videos over the weekend from some friends out there, and I was like, oof.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's a little bit of snow here in the city, but I think it's a little bit too warm at the moment. So
Okay,
I'm good.
lovely. It's that ominous time where it's like, is this the last snow that we're going to get, or is there going to be a little bit more in late January, February? I think I've actually seen it as late March. I think one year, like 2017, getting snow in New York City, and it was like, whoa, this is wild.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I guess it does vary a lot. I think the first year I was living in New York, it snowed for the first time in I think it was late October, and I was like, oh, is this normal? Is this when it starts? And no, that was not normal. That was just
Yeah, that's like really early. All right. I see folks joining. Hello and welcome everybody. I'll place please add your name to the minutes as you see fit. Thank you. We'll kick it off in a minute. Hello to everybody. For those who are just joining, we'll give it another minute or so for folks to come on in, and then we'll get started. If there's anything you want to add to the agenda or feel that you want to discuss today, feel free, and we can go into it. I don't think we have a full agenda of needing the full hour, meaning that. So, but hey, we have the time. If we need it, we can use it.
Were we supposed to come up with a suggested mission statement? I missed that from the last meeting. Or is that?
Yeah, I had put it there. If anybody wants to boil it down, I'd taken a stab over it over the weekend. But if you want to take a few moments, Vanessa, and see if you want to bubble it down, I had thrown one out there on the agenda there just to see how it felt and what we're missing. But yeah, go ahead by all means. All righty. Okie doke. I'll share the agenda, the link to the agenda one more time in chat, because I know as you roll in, I don't think you get the back scroll for folks who are joining. And feel free to add your name there as an attendee, but let's get into it. I think we're about normalizing here on attendees. So hello and welcome. This is the second working group for reference types in OCI. Today is Tuesday, January 18th. Welcome everybody. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. And if you're in the US, so even a long weekend, if you're able to take the day. Today we have a few items on the agenda. If you'd like to add anything, feel free to do so. I think there's a little room on the agenda. But first, I wanted to go through the action items we agreed upon as a group last week to go through. The first one being that we're trying to actually work on delivering a mission statement for the working group. And the purpose and goal here of actually having a mission statement is so that everybody's clear about the goal of the working group. And I wanted everybody to have an opportunity to actually say what their hopes and goals are for the working group. So I know there's actually an action item there and an agenda item additionally if we want to talk about that. So I've carved some things out there for us to discuss, but my goal would be to land on a mission statement that we can actually all agree upon and covers what we think we're going to achieve as a group here. So we'll take some time next up to do that once we get into the agenda. The second piece was I had assigned myself to scaffold out just adding links to the details of this working group to the repository and provide links to comms there. So you can see PR2 under working group reference types. I've scaffolded out a design there. If you have feedback, feel free to add your comments. It's still missing the mission statement for the working group. So once we do that, I can submit that as a subsequent PR, but I wanted just a single place to have all the information where people are communicating, how to connect, how to get access to the meetings, and have that in GitHub form on the repository. So that's what that PR is there. And if anybody wants to review and help with that, that'd be very much appreciated. Now I'll just put out a call. I took those action items from the meeting last week. Is there anything else that we needed to action, or any updates from anybody else regarding this working group? Nope. Okay, we will continue here. Excellent. And so finalizing the mission statement. So I basically just took a look through everybody's feedback and tried to boil it down. I do see Nisha just left a comment. Thank you, Nisha. What's wrong with the purpose on the proposal? The only thing I felt that it wasn't clear enough in that proposal to rally a mission. I didn't feel like we had an elevator pitch for what the purpose of the WG was doing. I felt it was a little too fluffy having wrote that. So I was hoping the rest of the team could actually come together and write a mission statement that we could all agree on, and we could go and update the original proposal as well. So we have that there. If there's anybody else, yeah, thanks for taking notes there. Appreciate the folks taking notes. But when I read the purpose statement, it wasn't clear to me what the goal of the group was, and I had a hand in writing that. So I felt just having the wider group and folks here who are working on it to have a state in there. So let me go ahead. I will give you the draft that I put together, and this is by no means my own words. I basically mixed up a few different proposals I saw from last week. So if you're looking at the minutes from last week, you can see everybody's ideas there. So I came up with just a one-liner here that says, define the semantics and the mechanism for describing and querying relationships between objects stored in an OCI registry. And I took that as, I think it was a lot of John's words specifically. I felt they were very succinct, but that's not to exclude anybody else. I felt like that statement captured the breadth of what everybody was saying. So that was what I was hoping to get to, something that was very succinct and captured the breadth of what we were trying to do here. So did anybody else have any other ones they want to propose? Or I guess the other way we could do it is looking at the one that I proposed there, and I can pop it in chat, but it's in the minutes here. What are we missing? What doesn't it cover? What doesn't that statement cover would be my question. Do we feel like that encompasses the work that we need to do, or not adequately? And I will pass it to the room here. If you can raise your hands, I see a few folks doing that. Thanks, Nisha and Vanessa. So I will start with Nisha.
Hey, thank you. This is the first one that I'm attending.
Welcome.
Thanks a lot for organizing this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I am wondering if just from previous conversations that I've had about reference types, does semantics include data structures? Does it include creating data structures and like management of the data structures? Does it include any of that? So there is mechanism, but I'm specifically asking for semantics.
Go ahead and jump on that, John.
In my mind, yeah, the mechanism would be like, how do we either create new or modify existing data structures? I mean, I have ideas for that, but what I think is going to be important is the semantics around that mechanism. So like, what does it actually mean if we have something referring to another thing? And how do clients and registries interpret that? So yeah, I think what you said is accurate, that the mechanism is the data structure part, and then the semantics are like what I'm not sure about and what I hope other people can explain to me in a way that I find easy to understand and implement.
So would that mean user stories, or what exactly is missing from the current architecture that needs to be enhanced, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of like implied semantics around what folks are doing already that aren't spelled out explicitly, like this is what this means. um, I could fish up some examples if I had time, but basically, like what do I know as a client or registry when this one object refers to this other object? Like, what is that relationship? Can you define like how I should interpret that relationship, and like what is safe to do or unsafe to do? Um, that's what I think is missing. There's also like different kinds of relationships that I think are useful and interesting and aren't necessarily like the most obvious thing. Like, I think the implied semantic of most of these is, oh, this is metadata about the thing I'm referencing, right? But there's also the potential for like this is an aggregate of things, or like I'm referencing something that's maybe not inside the OCI DAG, or in a different namespace or something. Like, these relationships have a lot of properties that maybe we decide aren't interesting to express, but I want to know the exactly like what it says about this relationship when you put one in an object, because in order to write tooling around that, you need to know like what does it mean.
So before I hand off, is this a topic that folks are interested in following up on? I have some frameworks around how we can talk about this, how we can drill down to a specific thing. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to have those conversations, Nisha. So if you have some ideas, I'd be willing to have you facilitate those conversations. I try to capture what you've got here in the notes as well. So feel free to add it there as well. I guess the question I have before I hand off to Vanessa is semantics and mechanisms clear enough in that mission statement, or should we drill down on that specifically? Because if there are questions around what does that mean, maybe we can choose a better set of words that make it more clear, or we can leave it a little more high level as it is currently. Think about that, and I'll go to Vanessa. Vanessa has a fire alarm going off. Hope it's okay, Vanessa. Let us know when you're back. Jason.
Yeah, thanks. I think one thing I think is missing from the mission statement is an assumption of a limit on the amount of time that we will work on this. I mean, not like we need like a deadline. That's not what I'm saying, but more like we want to define, propose to distribution spec or image spec a set of things, a set of changes, and then stop, and then not have these meetings again. I love you all. I'd love to have these meetings forever, but I think if we're still having them in 5 years, we've made a mistake. So I would like to, I mean, this is not like an amendment to the mission statement, but like I think it is missing that we have a specific goal, do this thing and then stop, have a high five party, and then work on other stuff.
I agree. So how would we serialize that into, some kind of, is that an additional statement on the back of that mission statement? Because I think the definition of done is really critical. How do we exit this thing, and how do we know when to disband this working group? Because the idea is that we spin out some work product and spin down the working group, and it's not forever. So I think calling out something really important there, Jason, is what is the definition of done, even if what's the definition of good enough, and solving the problem that we're setting out to solve, which is why I think us all coming and talking about this mission and statement is important, that we capture all these things so we know within ourselves how are we saying we're done. So yeah, how would we serialize? Is that an additional sentence here, or should we try and cram it in? I propose that sentence as a starting point. It's by all means, you can tear it up and move it around.
Yeah, I think it could be an edit to the mission statement. It could also just be a tacit assumption among all of us here that when we feel like we have defined the semantics and the mechanisms, that we, move to stop doing this, or eventually our progress will slow until eventually we realize we're not talking about anything new, and then we can just sort of like look around and high five party and then leave. But I don't know if that needs to be in the mission statement, or just everybody here know that that's what we're here for, is to eventually finish this and be done.
I feel like that's valuable. I feel like that's valuable to put in the mission statement, the definition of done.
I agree. I just don't have good wording to propose, but let me work on it.
Is define the right word? Is it define and propose to the OCI?
That could be useful. I think defining is maybe never done, but proposing is an event that will pass. Once we have proposed, that event has passed and we are done. I don't know if it will necessarily actually be done when that happens, but that is at least a milestone that we are reaching for, that we will be done with. I'll let other people talk.
Michael has his hand up.
Yes, thank you, Nisha. Michael?
Yeah. I think, let me see if I can get my camera on. So I was going to say the relationship, I think we could define that a little clearer, because we already do model relationships in an OCI registry, right? We have image to layer and image index to image, but the relationships that we are trying to describe are different than those. And it seems like the mission statement should be specific enough that somebody who hasn't been participating in this for the last year would understand why we need this and what is new about this.
Love it, Michael. Do you have any wording you think that we could add? Or does anybody, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but I think my goal was to drill into the words that are vague here and really pinpoint them. And if relationships is one, how could we clarify that?
Yeah, I guess the ones that we already have kind of seem more like parent-child relationships. And this, I think we've been using the word reference. Maybe reference relationship is good enough for now. Open to other suggestions though.
So I can kind of bring in some context here. The specific kind of relationships we were thinking about were signature of or SBOM of, let's see, and any other like what I would call supplemental objects that are attached to a container image. And this is why actually I asked a question in the document, which is, what are objects? Are they containers, pieces of containers, or anything stored in an OCI registry? So we probably want to have a definition for that. We want to be able to, actually describe the thing we are working with. And I think from my discussions, we haven't really decided whether we are designing specifically for container images or anything stored in an OCI registry.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Nisha. I'm thinking about this a little more and how we might digest this down, because we could either add it all to the mission statement or add a glossary of terms as a supplemental thing afterwards when we say object, when we say relationship. So I'm just thinking about that, but I do like that people are saying, well, what relationships, what objects we're defining, proposing. This is kind of fidelity I wanted to get to in a mission statement. So I'm going to stop. I see a few more folks with their hands up. So thanks for working through this and using the hands gesture. I see your comment, Marina. I'm going to respond to that in chat. Kizik, your hand is next. Apologies if I said your name incorrectly. Nope. Okay. Just put your hand back up. I saw it go down, so I'm not sure if it was just by accident. I'll pass it to Brandon Mitchell.
Yeah, I was just going to follow along with Michael's comment there in terms of defining the relationship. If we were defining another parent to child objects inside of a registry, we would just make that. We wouldn't have to go through this whole creating a new API and other things. So I think the complicated part here is we're defining a new child or sibling to an existing object in a registry. Not sure the best way to phrase that, but that's kind of my thought process there. Is that's why we're going through the challenge of defining a reference type, is because we're trying to extend the CAS in a direction that's not designed to be extended.
Sorry for the silence. I'm typing what you said, Brandon. Just make sure we capture it.
Yep,
If anybody
no
else would like to jump in, otherwise I can pass it to Josh. I think that's a really good point there, Brandon, is there are relationships. What type of relationship is this? Is that name that you came up with, which is, can you say it again? It's new child.
It's creating a new child or sibling to an existing object inside of a registry.
So Brandon, would you say that one of the goals of this working group is to provide incremental changes to enable this feature to the CAS?
I think the output of us, I hope, is going to be defining what the API looks like and what the actual format of the object is that is the reference itself. How does that look and how do you query it? So that's my expectation for what we've been talking about. Yeah. So one of the things I want to be careful of is the fact that we have something called, like, we have a rudimentary way of extending the CAS, but we also need to allow ways to apply enhancements to the rudimentary thing, maybe like an inheritance model or something like that. So you can extend it by creating a new CAS entry that no longer is the same old object you had before, or you can extend it by creating a new parent object that points to whatever is existing in there. But you can't really extend it to create a new child. It goes against the design of what the directed acyclic graph does for you. So that's where the challenge comes in. Yeah, so it seems like our goal is to maintain the directed acyclic graph, or are we open to adding new structures to this? I'm sure if you ask 5 people, you get 6 answers, but I think we're attempting to find the best way to do it with the tools that we've got. And hopefully we structure it in a way that doesn't break everything.
I'm going to go ahead and say I think that the mission statement is general enough. I think it's general enough for someone to understand what it is we're trying to do. And I don't mean to say that the conversations we're just having are not important. It's just like more of a, can we get the mission statement out and then from there dive down into talking about DAGs, and if we need clarification on mechanism versus semantic. I feel like we're falling into a trap that is very OCI of us, and maybe we can get past this item and then maybe later talk more about the specifics.
I think that's good feedback, Josh. And it's always just how far do we get into technical details? But I think somebody said earlier, and I can't remember, my apologies, if somebody was driving by and they don't have 6 months worth of context in their mind, could they read this and know exactly what, at a high level, what we're trying to achieve? And that's kind of where I wanted to get to. And I think, the purpose of this conversation was just to make sure we're all, we've talked through what we think we're here for, and at least we capture most of that, and then we can get into the details. So is what's there now good enough to meet the need? Do we all agree on that, solving the drive-by situation? I don't know if there's a better term for that. Somebody casually looking at what are they trying to do here? Incremental, non-breaking. I see a lot here. What are the words we need to change? Like, how do we drive this? Because I also agree with Josh. I don't think we need to talk about this for 3 weeks, and I'd love to leave the room with this is good enough. And if we need to, we need to iterate on it later. That's always up for grabs. But as long as we all feel good about what we've come up with, I think this shared work here is important to make sure we're doing this. So I've tried to capture, and there's a lot of good feedback in the chat too. I will say, if there's anything you want to be durable, Zoom chat is not very durable. Somebody has to do a lot of legwork to download that and put it back into the minutes. So if you have anything there that you want to stay, please go and put it in the minutes as well. And I'd appreciate that, because there is a lot of good feedback here. So I've tried to put words in brackets about words that were being people were picking on. Do we want to, not picking on, just saying that they're a little vague? How do we feel like define, propose? I had one difference, the addition of querying reference relationships. We also had other wording like child, new child, or sibling, and then objects. And then I saw Sajay in chat say, are we only talking about within a single registry? And, again, you bring that kind of eye to what's implementation as opposed to what is, mission, and what bits do we want to focus in on to drive solution here? Because I think we can add supplemental details to what we mean when we say reference relationship or objects. So where are we at? A bunch of us. I'll circle back on here.
I personally think we have enough. But if I'm missing anything, sorry, Vanessa.
We are raising hands. Sorry, Vanessa. It happens. Thanks for apologizing, Nisha. Vanessa, would you like to go?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say back to what we were talking about. I mean, if this is really like a drive-by mission statement, then even saying semantics and mechanism is really going to have people's minds go to, well, what does that mean? I think if we really want like a drive-by statement, we would just say like, propose how to describe and query relationships between objects. Like, just make it even simpler. Like, get rid of the semantics and a mechanism, because like, if we're not going to define that, then it's just going to kind of make people pause and, get lost in that conversation.
So you said define how to, or propose how to describe?
How to describe and query reference relationships between objects stored in a single or OCI registry. So just get rid of semantics and a mechanism. It's implied that in the how we'll figure out, we'll have to discuss something like that, but I don't think we want to explicitly say semantics and a mechanism, at least at this point, if it really is this drive-by description.
Okay. Feel free to weigh in, people. Use your hands. I'm just going to go and refine this based on the feedback.
I am in support of what Vanessa said. I think we start really simple. Like, the minute we start talking about single registry, multiple registry, SBOM, signature, I think we're missing it. We need to enable all those things, but I think I think we just need to start very simple so people don't get tripped up.
I'm highlighting. How's that look? The only questions I have left, it's in highlighted in the document. Propose how to describe and query. That's got to go. And yes, please, somebody else delete my lack of cleanup there. Thank you, Anonymous Wolf. For reference, do we need reference relationships?
Either pick reference or relationships. I would choose relationships. But yeah, I'm open to whatever other people think. Relationships sounds more generic than references.
Okay. Love it. I see people in there editing as we speak. Between objects stored in an OCI registry, is objects good enough? It's doing a lot of work. Okay.
I think for now, I think so. Before folks go on, I would like to say that we do have some requirements that I think need to be added to the mission statement.
I would just add them outside. Yeah, we definitely need requirements. And any other views on that highlighted one? I'm updating to remove reference. Propose how to describe and query relationships between objects stored in an OCI registry.
I like it.
Emoji ship it. Couple of one thumbs up, two thumbs up. Any other opinions out there? I see Marina, I see your hand, Vanessa. Is there anybody who feels like that's not representing or not representative of the work this working group needs to do? I feel good about it for what that's worth. Okay. Ship it. Cool.
Ship it.
All right. Okay, so we can move on. Thank you very much for doing that exercise. Really appreciate all the time there. I will go and add that to that document. So don't that PR that I have out there as the mission statement, and then we can fill in other pieces as we make decisions as a group here. So I'll take that as an action item. So as for next steps, so I want to get into the next steps for here. And what I wanted to do was just start a discussion about how we might break this up and understand what we think is the best path forward. And then we can make some steps in that direction. So I guess I will just seed the conversation here, and then we can move on it from there. So I've been reviewing the existing proposals that are out there to deal with reference types. And, you know, there's a lot of threads, there's a lot of conversations, there's a lot of great proposals and feedback. So what I was thinking might be a good next step, and this is just my opinion here to break this down, is we could either start with requirements, or we could take the proposals as they are at the moment and see if we can peel out pros and cons to each implementation as they are described by individuals that have reviewed any of the proposals, and bring that conversation to this group. And I think what hasn't happened in the past has been, if people have views as to why they have a pro or a con for their specific point or angle, how do we actually have a conversation about that? Because even as I read it, it's hard to grok, oh, what does somebody mean by this case isn't met or this challenge? And I'm wondering if having that conversation with us synchronously to at least describe it, have the individuals that have either a pro or a con with the implementation, describe it, document it, and then we figure out the best path forward and agree with that together, because I find it challenging just to go through all those things. So we could either start from that angle, taking the proposals that are already out there, which, you know, people have done a lot of work on. There are a lot of comments, and distill that into a document with, you know, I kind of feel like is the word drive-by, or a very high-level summary of what this proposal is, and then some pros and cons for each proposal. And then we can talk through those situations. So that's kind of what I was thinking. The other route we could take is putting requirements together to things that we have, and then trying to draft a proposal together. So they were the two options I had. And if there are others, please let us know, or what we think is going to be most beneficial for this group. Because again, keeping that mission in mind, we do want to come up with a proposal and do it in a timely manner as well. So I want to make sure that all the prior art out there that's been invested into this space is that we discuss and make a decision. I see, so hands up if you'd like to provide feedback to that, or let me know before we go off and start this endeavor. So I see Nisha has their hand up first, and then Brendan after Nisha. Anybody else throw your hands up as well, please.
Should I go?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So just from previous conversations around this subject, I think that we ought to start with requirements first.
Okay, thank you.
And
Brandon?
here I was going to second your proposal of saying, let's just throw a bunch of spaghetti on the wall, see what sticks, and then from out of that, come up with what the requirements should be, what the goals should be, stuff like that. Sometimes it's easier to evaluate those and to add those to the list when you have something you're looking at. And so to look at some of the existing proposals, it's helpful to me.
Anything else?
So I think we do have some requirements over here in our comments. One of them is incremental. The other one is maintaining backwards compatibility.
So does it make sense to take the proposals that we have and cleave out? I tend to operate more right now, given the situation with proposals already been out there, more with Brendan's, let's take what the work's already been done and cleave out the proposals and make sure that we're all in agreement with the requirements, and then rationalize the proposals that are out there with those requirements and see if they meet, because that's going to give us a good foundation for making a decision, I feel, from doing that. So
Yeah, there was a doc that Dan wrote. It's dated June 11th, 2021. I'll share it in the chat. That goes over two of the proposals. I don't know if that's all the proposals we have now, or if there's more, but I don't know. It's at least a good refresher review of some of the proposals that I think we could benefit from going over. I also wanted to mention, I think, in addition to spelling out the requirements, I think we should also keep track of a list of things that we know are unsolved and perhaps unsolvable problems. I think garbage collection belongs in there. Garbage collection is not specified by OCI in any way at all. And so, and in the past, we have like fallen into a vat of oil, tar, something, I don't know, my analogies are terrible. We've fallen into a tar pit, that's what I was looking for, trying to specify the semantics around garbage collection in the face of reference types when there is no specification of garbage collection in general at all. So unless we want to like pin this and go solve garbage collection in the spec and then come back and solve garbage collection in this addition to the spec, which I don't think we should do. I think we should spell out that garbage collection is out of scope for this proposal, unless other people disagree. But I think that is a useful narrowing of our scope so that we can make progress on things that we can actually.
So I'm not going to disagree, but I will pivot slightly and say it's out of scope for what we're proposing, but it should be something that is feasible for a registry operator to implement based off whatever we create.
Yeah,
if we create
absolutely.
something where garbage collection is impossible, then no one's going to implement it.
It exists in the real world and we shouldn't ignore it. And we should even, I think that sentiment or that statement is perfect to put in there, that like, if, you know, real registries will need to do garbage collection, but we should not include garbage collection in the spec of this thing, because unless we want to go solve garbage collection in all of OCI, but don't, please don't.
Is it feasible to say that we don't break the existing garbage collection mechanisms in OCI registries?
I think because garbage collection is not specified by OCI at all, we should not make a statement about whether we will or won't break or what breaking means, because that term doesn't exist in the context of OCI. If somebody wants to go do a survey and figure out like what will ECR do with this data right now today, I mean, you can go, you can add reference objects to things right now because of the unknown fields behavior. You can go see what that will do, and it will probably not do what you want, but I don't think it will take down a registry. If it does, that's a bug. Yeah, I don't think we should specify it because it's just not in OCI at all.
Yeah, I think, Jason, you're raising a good point, and without, you know, going down the rabbit hole, we should have a way just to say this, we're absolutely not covering this and it's out of scope, and just do that as a team. So it sounds like, you know, there's a conversation to be had about garbage collection, and I know it's been had before, but let's just get consensus within this group or some agreement, and there'll be, you know, several things I'd imagine that'll, you know, warrant the same discussion. But still, you know, what is the best way to move forward with the requirements, and then, you know, taking the proposals that are out there. And I think looking for a way to rationalize the proposals as they are and have the conversations about, you know, what meeting requirements are not, is the most important way to facilitate how we would make a decision here. Sajay?
I think GC is a great example, but I wouldn't say GC belongs or not belongs in the spec. I would kind of like first call out from a requirement perspective. The client has a certain expectation, and registries are free to implement what they want to. So scope it rather than saying something is not there or not, is what I would say. And that would obviously lead to GC is out of scope, because clients don't really care whether GC is done or not. So scoping how the client behavior might be from a specification standpoint would be the driving force or the driving factor of why certain areas would just be out of scope. And that way we don't get into discussions like we had before. Totally support that. And then, yeah, I'm not a fan of putting GC into the spec also.
Thanks. I think we should, every time we all agree on something, we should ring a bell and write it in the doc. And one of the things I'm hearing—
That's what I want to do, Jason, is ring a bell, write it in a doc.
What I'm hearing is we all agree we don't want to specify garbage collection behaviors, either in OCI or related to references. And that, well, I'll stop there. Ring the bell. We all agree we don't want to specify garbage collection behavior.
Yeah, and I think that the meta there, Jason, is how do we, sorry, Nisha, is how are we facilitating how we make a decision? And as Sajay was saying, because there's going to be more cases, we should make sure we have the client expectations as part of the, you know, requirements here, so that we can look at it and it's clear as to the outcome. You know, using the GC use cases it makes for a good example, but what I'd like to do is what's the meta for all these things of how we make the decision and what's going to facilitate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I don't want to ring the bell just yet. I am concerned that if we do not consider garbage collections, then whatever proposals we have for our mechanisms, and that is in our charter, would end up conflicting with expectations that implementers would have.
Yep, obviously a valid point, and we want to make sure we have a way to make a decision as to how this is, whether it's in scope or not to be solved as part of this work. I see some feedback on the doc. Sajay said, can we update with links to prior art here? So I know in the proposal, there was a bunch of links with all the prior art that I went and just did a quick take across the ecosystem. But if there are other proposals out there that people want to be part of the consideration, or let's collect them as well. Okay, we have a few minutes left. What decisions can we make on next steps now that there's been a few proposals out here, and who would like to participate in doing that work?
I can do that.
First, yeah, let's see what we agree on which bits we think is valuable, and then, yeah, obviously, thanks for your enthusiasm, and love to have you be a part of it. But what do we think is the best next step here? Because I don't want to come back to the group with, if Nisha goes off and does a whole bunch of work, we don't find it beneficial as a group. So that's what I'm trying to, let's not put our energy into things that aren't going to be valuable for this group to move forward. Sounds like, do we take the proposals that are out there and craft a set of requirements and bring a set of requirements back to the group and have them prior to next week's meeting so we can start to riff on them? Is that the best next step? Or is it just collating all the requirements and everybody reads through them? Or is it producing a doc with summaries? I need to read Dan's doc. Thanks for providing it there, Jason. What do we all collectively want to see here? Otherwise, I can just work on what I think is the next best steps, but I'd like to get everyone's input.
I'm sorry about that, Lucky. I thought that the next steps was collecting all the documents and summarizing them. And that's what I volunteered to do, but that's okay.
Okay. Yeah. Is that the next best step? Is anybody? I see a few people probably have input. Any input here, or should we just take it and run with it?
I think that sounds good, and I'd also be willing to help with that as much, in any way that I can. Nisha, if you need help, or if there's a doc you are summarizing these things in, I'm happy to take a look and help with that before next week.
Okay, so we can create a doc with the links to the proposals and start summaries and see if summaries of each proposal, and then start to see what the requirements are. And then next week we can cleave out the requirements as you're reading through those proposals, and then we can present the requirements to the group and start making decisions about whether these requirements cover everything, and if there's anything we're missing. Does that summarize what we're doing here? Sorry, I'm very I'm thick as two planks, so I need to be told exactly what it is I'm doing. Otherwise, I'd leave it up to guesswork.
That is also my understanding. We are at least equally wrong. If we are both wrong, we are both. You are not alone in being wrong if you are wrong.
Can you just say yes, Jason, and make me feel good, and I'll skip down the street? Okay, no, it's not that I'm right. It's that this would be valuable.
Yeah, this would be valuable. I think this would be valuable.
Anybody else? Any other opinions? Or we can, Jason, Nisha, and I can go do that. And anybody else who wants to participate, it's open. Josh?
Yeah, I have a comment. I kind of put this in the doc too. I'm wondering, as we're designing the purpose, if we can avoid, or I guess I'm asking, should we avoid talking about some of the very pressing industry specifics for certain people coming to this working group, and that specifically being SBOMs and crypto signatures? Should we come up with some sort of fake fantasy relationship and fantasy artifact type, or is that distracting from us getting to the finish line with this. I just feel like what's going to happen is someone will come up with a tool that solves all of these things, and then it's really not in their interest to consider other opinions. And this is something we've seen happen in OCI like over and over. And I'm wondering if from the start, can we come up with some playful relationship that isn't SBOMs and signatures that have all these other discussions going on. Hello?
So I was going to,
no,
so
sorry, you're on mute, Josh.
Did I
No,
lose
I'm kidding.
audio?
No, we're all here. We're pondering. Does anybody else? Yeah, see hands, use hands to respond. Thanks, Nisha, for keeping good protocol here.
I'm trying to. This is very exciting for me. As the SBOM person, I would be very happy to work on fantasy thingies.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal, because not only tooling, but there's also the standards. There's SPDX and Cyclone, and we have SigStore, and it's just, I think we're starting off to a really good foot, and I think we can stay that way. And Nisha, I'm happy to work with you if you want to come up with something silly to, I think it would keep us focused on what the working group's supposed to do and not take us away to what our specific roles at our companies are trying to do to help everyone. So Nisha, I'll reach out on Slack.
Well, how does that feel to anybody else who would like to give feedback to Josh's proposal?
This sounds great to me. Yeah, I think that like once implemented, I think there'll be a lot of potential uses for this. So it'd be nice to focus more on what we want the thing to do than how it can solve one of these many problems. So I like that idea.
Thanks, Marina. Sajay?
So I see both, there's a positive and a negative to it. The negative being that anybody who's coming to this body would have to understand these fantasy concepts before they can actually get to something real. But keeping them closer to something generic, like let's call it SBOMs. SBOMs is generic itself, like there's SPDX, there's Cyclone DX. Signatures have Notary, SigStore. So I would say bring them close to the real use case as much as possible, but generic enough where there's no specific, attachment to any conflicting views and things like that might be a model. Just don't call it foo bar. That's going to be like totally unusable. So as long as we have.
Yeah, I was thinking more like ice cream and ice cream toppings, or that's a stupid one, but something that, the children can make sense about.
Cool.
So it actually makes it easier if you're coming in. That's sort of what I meant.
Okay, Brandon.
I was going to call out John Johnson to see if he wanted to chime in or not, because I think I heard him mention earlier in this that he had some very non-traditional ideas of what this would look like. And so I was kind of going along the lines of, if we did say SBOM, we could also say, and this other different thing that you might not be thinking of. And to solve both of those, you're going to have to come to this group and find the common solution that solves everybody's problem.
I'll pass.
Howard.
Josh chooses. No, don't say that. We don't use words like that. It's I yield my time to the floor.
I yield. Sorry, it's a joke.
No, it's okay. Okay, so it looks like unless there's any, anybody that wants a really real world use case right now, I'm okay with coming up with the abstract concept here. So Josh, can you go and put together, I think Ram Kumar said, a straw person reference type, an example that we could use as the single thread to go through this whole working group as a way to rationalize the experience.
I'll start a sub working group for the working group.
No, yeah. It's a special committee, Josh.
A committee.
Yes, a committee. Okay, so you do that, and Nisha and Jason and everybody else, we can start to get the boil down the summary and make sure that we start to get requirements together. Sound good? Okay, I'm going to capture those as the action items. I'll give everybody 4 minutes back before the top of the next hour. Thanks for the conversation, and I'm really excited about the work that this group is doing, and thanks for indulging the mission statement. I'll get that updated as well. If there's anything in between, feel free to reach out into the discussions or on the Slack channel in the OCI Slack. Thanks, folks. We'll see you this time next week. Bye.